Here are some odds and ends of old home movies from the Cleveland Zoo. These are not spectacular, but a few things are interesting. The first movies are from 1956, and we see the Cleveland Hopkins Airport with cars from the early 1950s. The person who shot these films still refers to this as the Brookside Zoo, even though the name was changed to the Cleveland Zoo well over 10 years earlier. Just 1 year after the Pachyderm building opened, we see the zoo's first tapir in the southernmost yard. Wow, the building is so new that not a single blade of grass is growing in the yards. And here's the Nile hippo called Red in 1956. Red is about 5 or 6 years old here. This would appear to be Tara, a female African elephant. She's also quite young. Next, the most remarkable moment in these films. This is Frida, the zoo's Asian elephant. Frida is shown here in the last year of her life, 1956. She's said to be 70 years old, and she looks to be 70 years old. These are the only known color images of Frida. Next, we see a mute swan on Waterfowl Lake, but we don't see much of the lake. In the early days, the lake was called the Waterfowl Sanctuary. Zoo director Fletcher Reynolds was still living when these 1956 movies were filmed. Here are the Humboldt penguins in their outdoor exhibit, very close to today's African savanna. This exhibit is very new and the footage is excellent. Here, the wattle is large and these specimens were just recently acquired. Now here's some footage from the original bear dens, which were up near today's polar bear exhibit.
Hey, buddy, how about something to eat? Thanks.
Also, continuing in 1956, are some excellent views of Monkey Island. The island is approaching 20 years old. We see the original stone of the island. This is a few years before it was sprayed over with concrete in 1962. Notice there are no oudads on the island in 1956, no sheep on the island at all. But there are plenty of monkeys enjoying the late afternoon sun. They rule their domain with no interruptions. Now, from a different family's home movies, we jump forward to around 1961. Here's Grandma. Looks like they gave her a giant bowl of ice cream for Christmas. And here's more of this Cleveland family. By summertime, they're off to the Cleveland Zoo. This is Bomi and her mate in their pool. It's a mated pair of pygmy hippos. Now this is a rhino that came to the zoo in the 1955 expedition. Those white stains that the rhino deposited on the brick walls would remain there for over 50 years until the building was renovated. This rhino left his mark. From the back keeper entrance of the Pachyderm building, we can look up the road to Kittyland. You can see the zoo's merry-go-round and a mechanical car ride in their original locations. These rides were moved farther to the southeast within a few years. Here is the zoo's Bactrian camel, which had a long life at the zoo. Of course, this exhibit was near what is now Wildlife Way, across the road from where Children's Farm used to be. So in 1961, the cameraman just turned around and took this film of the barnyard of Children's Farm. Children's Farm was a very popular place. It was close to Kittyland, which featured this ride in 1961. The attendant in the yellow shirt is stopping the ride. Here's the Brookside Park swimming pool in 1961. This is right near parking lot number 1. It wasn't part of the zoo, it was a city pool. In the distance, you see the Fanner Foundry, which had been the park's neighbor as far back as 1903. By 1961, we see that there is a rather large herd of oudads on Monkey Island. Wow, that's a lot of sheep. Maybe the rhesus monkeys aren't too crazy about that. They used to have this island to themselves. But these monkeys are smart. Maybe they're plotting their revenge. Once more, we see the Cleveland family who shot these home movies. Hi, Dad. Dig in. Hey, what's Mom eating? Could that be... Oh, Dad? No, looks like chicken. Now it's time for the revenge of the rhesus monkeys. Did you see it? The monkeys have hatched a plan to rid their island of sheep. Notice this monkey is attempting to push this outad off the island to his death. 1 year later, in 1962, we have more home movies from the same family. Another Christmas. And at the zoo, we see the giant tortoise, now known as Terry, formerly Mary. He was acquired after 1959. And here is the largest tortoise, one of two that survived the flood of 1959. This tortoise was from the 1955 expedition. This is the building known as the Baboon Building. On the western side of the original animal house, the alligators were kept at an outdoor exhibit in the summers. Watch. One of the alligators is going to move. See? That's enough excitement for him. Now here's Grandma again. What kind of a sick person drinks water in front of flowers? Maybe they'd like some, Granny. Here comes the number 6 tour train, known as Cinderella. This train was different from the other 5 original trains that were acquired in 1953. Here, Cinderella is driving past the flagpole in front of the animal house. Looking at another film, this is what the other 5 trains looked like. But Cinderella was different, and there's a story behind that. One man who drove the tour trains was Jack Herbeck, who was also the head football coach at Brecksville High. The 5 tour trains had standard floor-shift transmissions. It was fairly difficult for anyone to operate the clutch pedal. It took a lot of leg strength to drive those original 5 trains. Well, in time, Jack Herbeck went off and fought in the Korean War. When he returned, he was disabled. His left leg had been severely wounded. He may have had a prosthetic leg. He didn't talk about it. In any event, Jack could no longer climb up into the cab of a tour train, nor could he operate a clutch with his left leg. The zoo then acquired Cinderella for Jack to drive. Cinderella had an automatic transmission. She became Jack Herbeck's train for many years during the summer when he was on break from teaching. That's probably Jack driving the number 6 train in this old footage. Now, here's the Sea Lion Pool in 1962. Pelicans are sharing the pool with California seals. Here's a scarlet macaw. And here is Waterfowl Lake. The cameraman is most interested in the flowering bushes on the far shore. Now, in the birds of prey cages near the lake is a crow named Jimmy. This crow could talk. He frequently surprised visitors by suddenly saying, "Hello." We see other birds of prey, including the bald eagle and the golden eagle. In the earliest years of the Brookside Zoo, these flight cages were constructed near today's Welcome Plaza. They were built in 1908 and were moved to this location around 1950. These cages remain in the zoo to this day and have been updated. Now, from another family's home movies, we see some views in 1970. This family entered the zoo near John Nagy Boulevard, driving down under the Fulton Road Bridge. So this is a rare view of entrance number 2. People entered the zoo not far from Monkey Island. By 1970, we can see that the rocks of Monkey Island have been sprayed in concrete. You can see the roof of the old 1907 Animal House in the background. and the herd of oudads are still on the island. The rhesus monkeys' scheme to eliminate them failed. Here's a tour train taking people past the storks and cranes. This is one of the original blue tour trains, but it has been painted to look like a tiger. Driving this tour train in 1970 is Norm Tulajecki. Here's another look at Monkey Island and the beautiful flower beds maintained by the zoo. On this Sunday, the zoo allowed a private company to offer elephant rides. So this is not one of the zoo's elephants. This happened very rarely. Let's see that footage again. We're watching a diminutive, juvenile Asian elephant giving rides in front of the old animal house. This is as close as we'll ever come to seeing a film of many giving rides to children in the Brookside Zoo. Many gave rides in nearly the same location beginning in 1907. The little brown metal building is a tour train ticket booth. This quick shot is inside the animal house. And another shot outside the baboon building. Now back to the sea lion pool. Then the nearby pachyderm building. These Clevelanders then strolled up to Children's Farm. Children's Farm was very popular during those years. Here's a pretty good look inside the barn. Well, after all that walking, it's time to get the toddler a drink at the water fountain near the birds of prey cages. Whoa! Right up the old nose. Next time, patronize one of the zoo's refreshment stands. The most interesting item in this picture is the stroller these folks rented from the zoo. It's a good look at the kind of strollers the zoo rented in the 1960s and 70s. Now the family walks around the lake. And this is how we know this footage is from 1970. The tour trains were painted to look like tigers, zebras, and leopards in 1970. Yet this footage shows that the Wade Memorial Hall is not yet located on the lake. That means this is before the fall of 1970. Finally, the pretty young mom invites us to come see the macaws on display not far from the bird building. Hello! Then the group walks back to the main area to see the penguins, and storks and cranes. This is near today's African savanna. The filmmaker gives us a great view of the vast mall area. There weren't any exhibits, but by the 1980s, this was a great place for keepers to play touch football during their lunch breaks. By the way, the Cleveland Zoo's original flamingos were from Cuba. Did you know that? Well, neither did the flamingos. This concludes our odds and ends visit to the Cleveland Zoo. Hey, it appears the monkeys have won. I don't see a single outad on the island. So long, everybody. This is Curtis Parham, your zoo announcer, speaking.